these pictures are shown. I went, oh.
I'm indirectly coaching you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm joking.
Can you save me? Is there any hope?
Saana Azzam, welcome.
Thank you.
Sana, I have a confession to tell you today.
This is how we're starting.
This is how we're starting.
Okay.
I've been following you for a while, approximately since 2019, since I started on social media.
Nice.
And I'm in awe of all your achievements. You know, you're a CEO and founder of MENA Speakers. You had many awards. You published a book. You lead different programs. You train people. You do a lot of things. But my confession is not about all of that, with respect to all of that. My confession is that you're here today because you left me with lasting impressions as a human being.
Oof.
As a person who had a transformation, and I've witnessed it from far while you are on the stage of social media. So I don't really know you as a person, but I've witnessed the transformation, and it left me with a lot of lasting impressions positively. And with that in mind, I would like to welcome you today to our podcast, Lasting Impressions. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Are we going to start with tears? Okay.
Sana, I hear a lot of podcasts you participate in. I hear you speak, and I read a lot of your writing. But the audience today, why they should listen to you and me again for approximately 1 hour? What are we hiding for them today?
All right, so we are going to be sharing some insider secrets for communication, public speaking, leadership communication, perhaps, things that might not necessarily be found in a book, but found through extensive experience from being on stage and off stage and working with some of the greatest speakers in the world.
Amazing. I'm a bit jealous. You hosted Steve Bartlett not so long ago. I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah.
And I know you met many amazing speakers. You hosted as well amazing events, and you've been on many stages across the Arab world and internationally. Kudos to that. But I want to ask you, what left you with lasting impressions from all of these different events that you've attended or led?
So I would say the bar for me to have a leaving and lasting impression with anybody is quite low. And the reason why I say that is because I believe everyone has something really profound to teach you. And if you're asking the right questions, then the person in front of you is going to give you something, pearls of wisdom, a nugget, a takeaway that will have you thinking at home like, that was really interesting. Maybe I should apply that technique, or maybe I should try a different path. So I think creating lasting impressions can also be catalyzed by the questions that you're asking the person in front of you. So you take ownership for that.
So it really depends on you what you're taking from that, your curiosity perhaps.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And have you met a person in your life that really impacted you and left you with this amazing lasting impressions? Is there one particular person?
I meet so many. I have the privilege of being in the chair that I'm in, and I meet some of the greatest speakers, thinkers in the world. And the range could be anything from the person that's sharing their divorce story and you're weeping with them. Somebody who's sharing a situation where they got kidnapped, or when they turn their business around. It's really hard to pinpoint, and going back, it's about being curious, and in the curiosity you are going to find content that leaves a lasting impression on you.
So people's stories, they leave us with impressions, right?
Yes.
And as a public speaker, this is one of the biggest impactful techniques, I believe, like storytelling.
Yes, exactly. So if we look at storytelling, if I'm being briefed on something, if all of us are being briefed on any information, we will be using two parts of the brain. It's basically language processing. If somebody's telling a story, you're using dramatically more parts of the brain. And so you are connecting emotionally with that person. And that's definitely a key formula to be a high impact, lasting impression style speaker. And imagine if you tell a good story, it could potentially change your life. And let's give the most basic example. You can have a white t-shirt that's being sold and then a white t-shirt that's being sold for 10 times the price. Quite often the difference between the two is a great story and a packaging that's been there.
But do you feel the audience have a thirst for this deep stories, or you see people, they want the junk content, the quick content? I mean, I've seen yesterday online something that was really crazy. This lady who made the comment when she went out of a bar, and she made a quick comment online, and suddenly she became a millionaire, just because of a silly comment online, which was not really valuable. Do you feel, maybe if we can talk about the audience in our region, do you feel there is a thirst for deepness, or people, they want a quick content, junk content? How do you see storytelling in our region in the Middle East?
It's almost a philosophical question. You meet people at the level that you're at yourself. So if you are deep, then you're gonna be inspired by depth. If you like the superficial content, you're gonna be inspired with that. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. There is value in both, and whatever propels us forward as an individual and as society, good for me. That works just as well.
I love this perspective. What got you on the stage? Like, what really got you? I mean, I know you have a long life story. I've heard it. But what really, if you have to pick the one thing that got you on that stage?
Yeah. So the origin story, Saraha, it's luck meets bravery.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I was in my 20s, and I had won an award called Female Economist of the Year. Super proud. I'm in magazines all over Sweden, which is where I was raised. And then I get a call from an organizer saying, hey, you want to come and speak at our conference? And it was an HR conference. And this is, you're bold. I'm not thinking through the risks of being on stage in front of so many people. So I accepted that speech, went up on stage, basically improvised the speech, had a little panic in between, but stepped off and went, ooh, I like this feeling. And then I got offered from an audience member, I got offered a job to go and share a similar speech and get paid for it. And I went, you can get paid to speak. Okay. So that's been what kicked off my speaking career. And I've been now in it for 17 years.
Amazing. You get paid to speak.
Right?
Right? This is a very sensitive topic. I have to share it, but I might be coming across as venting out.
Let's hear it.
I actually did the reel, I didn't post it yet, about this exact topic.
Okay.
Come speak for free. You get exposure.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah.
Is this a common thing? Actually, I got inspired by a couple of people who posted online.
Yeah.
One of them, I salute her, Naila Al-Khaja, who's Emirati director. She talked about this, and I was like, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, supporting, community.
Yeah.
I do a lot. I participate in, in Women in Tech. I go speak to people. I do a lot of this kind of work, and willingly, and I love it. And it's really, really nice. I love it. I enjoy it. And it's very rewarding. However, when an organization, multinational, let's not name names,
yes,
they ask you to come speak at an event, and they have the
audacity
to tell you, but we don't have budget for that.
Yes. But they have budget for AV, food, invitation,
marketing,
staff.
Yeah.
But they're not going to have budget to somebody who's worked a lifetime to master a topic and share knowledge and is a central figure for this event. I'm with you. When people do that, then I go, well, do you want to work for me for free?
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what you're asking us to do. This has absolutely decreased over the years. And I think MENA Speakers has had a big part in educating the market.
Yeah.
Because when we started, there was definitely this tradition of getting the free speaker for exposure.
Yes.
But now we've worked on educating the speakers, saying value your time and your expertise, but deliver as well.
Yeah.
And then the client, if you want to have a good speaker that is maybe not pitching their business from the stage, that's actually thinking about the audience and is going to create great content, then value their time, put a contract in place, have that energy exchange.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely been an evolution, but I agree with you. And I think it's even worse when they say, hey, it's International Women's Day.
Yeah, an event.
We're here to celebrate women, but we're not going to pay them for their time. You're actually perpetuating the problem with women being underpaid and undervalued.
Yeah.
Now, that gets me angry.
Yes, me too. So another question comes to mind. How do we value, I mean, let's say I'm a client, some of the, decision makers that are listening to us today, they would like to hire a speaker.
Yeah.
Okay. There is some crazy fees out there in the market when it comes to, pricing a speaker. How do people, what are the things they need to take into consideration when they hire a speaker, and how do you price the speakers when it comes, to their hourly fee or to their keynote? Can you educate us? I'm curious about
Happy to. So the speakers that we work with understand this is a speaking business. They're not on stage once, twice, 3 times, and then, that's it.
It's
no.
a profession.
These are professional individuals that have, worked on their branding, on their content creation, on their research, on their own personal brand, on their packaging, on their delivery, public speaking training. It's a whole business that they've set up. And of course, you see the difference in quality with somebody who is polished, who knows how to deliver great content. You're not hiring them for the 20, 30, 50 minutes on stage. You're hiring them for the 10, 15 years of experience and research that they've had. And we see those critical moments absolutely translate well. If you have a professional speaker and there is an emergency on stage, a technical issue, something's not working, a professional is going to be able to navigate these situations beautifully. And I'll give you another example. I recently worked at a ministerial event. And this has never happened in my career, and I can't believe it happened, but it did. And so I'm emceeing this event. I've done my welcome note to the excellencies, dignitaries on stage. Heat is on, right? I introduced the health and safety person who's meant to do the health and safety briefing right after my welcome note. I introduce him, I step off stage, and I'm listening, and I'm going, there's no sound from the stage. Oh my goodness, this person's not there. So I step right out. I see everyone looking at me. I go up on stage and I go, well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe the health and safety person is making sure that we are safe in this venue. We will invite him back on stage. Once he's back in the venue, we'll proceed with our agenda. And so that moment is 17 years of experience to bridge something that could have been potentially really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that's really also what you're paying for, that wealth of experience to be able to manage these situations and to consistently create content throughout that whole duration of the speech.
Yeah. So how much improvisation plays when it comes to the stage? How much improvisation you do? I mean, you do a lot of preparation, you take a lot of things into consideration. However, when it comes to engaging with the audience, sometimes you need to improvise, in the moment, How much training a speaker who goes on a stage to speak to hundreds of people, how much skilled in terms of improvisation they need to be?
Well, here is the thing, right? If you're a professional speaker, you know exactly where you're heading. I'm starting from point A and I'm going to point B, and this is going to be my roadmap. And so there's a lot of pre-planning that's happening. If something happens, there's a moment in the audience, somebody says something funny, you're going to go into banter. You're able to do that because you're in control of the whole process. It's such a pre-planned and organized process. And that does take a considerable amount of hours on stage to be able to go off script, take the audience back, continue on that big journey. And so, yes, there are some people that do this every now and then. It's a fluke. They're lucky. They do it well. But generally, if you're consistently on stage, you're going to be able to handle that and come back.
Yeah, amazing. How did the industry change since 17 years? I know people, now there is more engagement with the audience, there is more, digitalization, there is more big screens, there is more things that integrate to create this different experience for the audience.
Yeah.
How much the industry changed in terms of emceeing and public speaking?
So the primary thing that I've seen that's been a massive change. Before, we used to have keynotes that were 60 minutes, almost a top-down approach. Somebody's lecturing, and that was the accepted norm. Now we're seeing a condensation of the whole process. And I think a big part of that is because of TED Talks.
Yeah.
They've really made sure that within 18 minutes, you're meant to be able to convey your thoughts and your key message. It's much harder to create a great speech with a shorter duration of time that is super high impactful than when you have a lot of time to elaborate on your thoughts and then take the audience on a journey and really build your case to whatever you're trying to persuade or convey.
Yeah. Does this have to do with our attention span as a human race? Because now, the focus is shorter. With the popcorn brain, a lot of stimulus around us, people wants to check their phone. Does this have to do with that? People used to sit and listen to lectures. I mean, I attend summits worldwide. Even that is being shortened. We used to sit for 2 hours to listen to a speaker, talking about the topic. Now they're all, shorter. Does this have to do, you think, with our attention span?
So we're definitely seeing that there's an information overload, generally speaking, on the market. And the art form right now is to really get and distill the information that you need. Because really, we have access to more information than ever. Before, it was just Google, but now we have the ChatGPT and then all of this other form of information from around the world on our phones, essentially. And so the demand here is, give me what I need so I can make my quick decisions. Because also, if you're running a business, you need to be able to make quick decisions in a market that's ever changing and more rapidly than ever. So I think that's part of the equation, that we need those quick data points because of a market that's changing.
Yeah.
So the demand is coming really from decision makers that want concise information.
Yeah, and I mean, I do keynotes with some of my clients, and I find people need to move all the time. You need to make them stand. You need to do this. So how about these techniques when you are delivering a speech on stage? Like the other day, I had people where I had someone before me who was very monotonous, and the people, and it just happened. I had some pixie dust in my pockets, so I put,
as one does. You walk around with pixie dust? Okay.
I don't walk around with pixie dust. Just happened. So I had an activity to do during the thing, but then I decided to do it at the beginning. So I said, I cannot really transform things, but I have some pixie dust, maybe it can do the job. And then I threw it in the air, and people were like, what's wrong with this woman? Is she crazy? What's going on? And I managed to grab people's attention because the people before me, the person before me was a little bit monotonous, and people were, somehow
snoozing out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how much of that is important as well to surprise the people, to get them on their feet, to make different sort of things and techniques? Are you a big fan of these things when it comes to emceeing events and public speaking?
A huge fan personally, but I have ADHD. So, so when it comes to attention and sitting down, it takes all my might to do it. So I personally love it and I enjoy it when it's interactive, experiential, because again, we will retain that information for longer. So that works really well in this market. And we're seeing it with dignitaries and high profile individuals and ministers. They're also very okay and happy to engage.
More open for it now, yeah?
They're super open to do that. Now, here's a plot twist though. When I'm evaluating the speakers that we work with, because again, I run the agency, and then I'm always evaluating the people on stage, and I have a range. So we have professors or absolute experts that could perhaps be quite regal and like ambassadors and very calm and soft-spoken. And then you can have the very hyped up motivational speakers. And what we're seeing is that both are getting really nice reviews. And I'm going, why? And this is an analysis that I've been working on for a long time. And again, it's observational. What I noticed is that when we are in our truth, when we are being authentic,
yes,
then that's going to resonate.
Yeah.
whether I'm doing it and I'm being very calm and collected and not moving a lot, or if I'm moving a lot, but if I'm speaking from my heart, my gut,
Yeah.
my truth, that's going to resonate.
Amazing. Does it have to do as well with the, maybe the culture of the client, the organization? Do you choose a speaker according to that? Is this something that you pay too much attention to, choosing the right speaker? For, of course, I mean, technically, yes, but I'm talking about energy-wise and, the style of the speaker. Let's say if you're talking to a governmental entity where it's a formal event, you don't expect someone like me standing with a pixie throwing in all people.
But I could.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's who you are and it's authentic.
Okay.
So being a speaker on stage is a leadership role. And in that context, you are the highest ranking person in that room. You are the alpha, you're the leader. And if the leader is leading, then you throw pixie dust and you have balloons and you have whatever you need. But that requires that you lead the room thoroughly.
Yeah.
And not this, should I, with that hesitation. Yeah. So then you'll be able to do exactly what you're doing or be very formal. It's just a question of essentially asserting yourself and commanding that space.
Beautiful. I know as well you deliver training programs for public speakers. And what do you see the trend that is stopping people? I know number one fear in the world is public speaking, actually.
So they say glossophobia.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy for everyone to stand on a stage and to speak. I coach a lot of executives and they do actually struggle when it comes, to delivering a keynote or, sitting in a panel even to discuss on a stage. Yeah. So what do you see is the biggest fear that is stopping people from speaking in public?
So in my world, and I've said this many times, public speaking is a skill. It's something you can learn. Again, it's like driving a car or learning a sport. It really is deconstructed. So we know what the science says of what is high-powered, low-powered, and I have enough experience at this stage to move people from being scared to being very confident and authentic on stage, high-impact speakers that leave a lasting impression, right? So that's something that I have worked with for a long time. Quite often, it's a knowledge gap, not knowing, and the other one is a mindset confidence issue. What happens in the sessions when I'm training people, there's such a range. It could be your mother's voice that says you're not good enough. It could be your teacher that says you're not good enough. It could be the bully that told you you don't look good. It could be the old boss that said your opinion doesn't matter. Yeah. And so a lot of that in between the lines surfaces. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily addressing that because I leave that for the fantastic coaches that can do that and the therapists. But it comes up and then we address the tactics and the strategies. And when I give you the tactics and the strategies, all of a sudden that voice starts disappearing.
In coaching, one of the exercises or techniques we use is what we call the pits and pets.
Okay, I want to hear that.
Performance interfering thoughts. So a lot of thoughts that you said, the mother voice, or, I might fail, or they might not like me. So these are thoughts that interfere with your performance and will stop you from performing. And we coach people on how they can replace those pits with pets, which is performance-enhancing thoughts. Nice. Which is the self-talk, being more self-compassionate, etc. Focusing on the strengths. In positive psychology, we use a lot of, strength-based approach. Beautiful. So a lot of this plays in stopping people from speaking.
Absolutely.
So learning I love how you combine coaching and teaching at the same time. Yeah. So having a coach that can help you, having the right mindset or setting the right goals or overcoming these barriers, and then learning the techniques, because as a skill, you require the techniques. And this is where you combine the knowledge, the skills, as well as the attitude, which Beautiful. Is the KSA, I call it. Not Saudi Arabia, but knowledge, skills, and attitude. So how important is it? And anyone can learn that? Do you believe that anyone can learn that?
Yes, I do. I think anyone and everyone can become much better at communicating. And So when in my worst case scenarios, when I get really stuck and
Yeah.
somebody's very attached to this persona of not being good enough, what I do is I introduce an alter ego. You know, the way Beyonce has Sasha Fierce.
Yes.
Then I go, okay, Maya, your stage persona, you know, let's paint a picture. Who is that person? And you'll be like, it's Rachel or whichever name, whoever that might be. And
We're
then we
binge watching Friends now, so
Are
it's
you?
it's a good choice.
you know, and then we go, okay, well, let's bring that person on stage then. And we work with that persona instead so that they can let go of these old beliefs that pits
Yes,
and
yes,
embrace pets
Yes.
on the stage.
Amazing. But a lot of communication skills involved,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I truly believe that to create lasting impressions, you need to communicate effectively.
Absolutely.
With anyone, on stage, off stage, anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you have to give the audience and me as well, I'm always learning, what are few tips? I mean, there is a technique I use in one of my training programs, the 7 C's of communication, you know, clear, etc.
Yeah.
But what are few tips that can help people communicate effectively on stage, off stage, anywhere, to create these lasting impressions?
Okay. So the most basic thing is use frameworks. There are actual structures that you can do. Get a pen and paper and write out what the speech is, the roadmap to the speech.
Amazing.
I quite like what, why, how. What is the situation? Why does it need to change? How should we change it? Literally, if you have a speech, try it out, pen and paper, what? And then bullet points, 3 bullet points. Why? 3 bullet points, and then how. So that's an amazing structure. Or past, present, future. In the past, we were there. Today, we're here. And this is where we're heading to the future. If you just apply those, it's going to cut down your speech writing time dramatically.
Wow.
And this is stuff that works. We've acid tested this over and over again. And you'll see a lot of speeches follow that basic structure.
Beautiful.
So that's one. And to your point, it is a skill because it's like driving a car. When you jump into the car, you can have as much confidence as you want. But if you don't know how to drive,
maneuver,
you're going to be stuck.
Yeah.
So learn the skills, like frameworks like that. So those are the 2.
Amazing. I find a lot of people ignore 2 things that are common when it comes to communication. One of them is listening.
I promise you I was heading to listening. That's exactly where I was heading. And I thought, no, it's too philosophical. Let's get practical first. And then we go to listening. Yes.
So I believe people, they think communication is a monologue, you know, and this is where the gap falls. I mean, not only on stage and as a public speaker, as well between people.
Yeah.
You find people, they don't take time to sit and listen and be present. And I was very fortunate because in my coach training, I really developed listening skills. It's a continuous process, but really it's a skill that people need to learn to communicate effectively and to switch off with all of these different distractions that are mainly in our head and really be present and listen to people. So I find this very common. Listening that is hindering effective communication. And another skill, I don't know if you agree with me, but I find it really underused. You mentioned something similar at the very beginning, is asking the questions.
Yes. Are you in my mind right now?
I'm trying.
Is that what's happening?
I'm trying. So I find these 2 things are like really marginalized when it comes to communication skills. Why is that?
Absolutely. This is something that's often on my mind.
Yeah.
And truth be told, it triggers me
Yeah.
when I'm in a conversation with somebody who's just speaking to me and not asking a single question. Like, oh, you're not, why am I here? You know? So one workshop that I do is giving and receiving feedback. And it's essentially one exercise done over 2 days. It's the most basic exercise, but it takes us 2 days for this to become second nature. it's the most amazing thing to observe. So to your point, you're right. A big part of effective communication is to be an active listener, to be able to understand what the person is saying and trying to say, and then to meet it with curiosity as opposed to a response.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, a master class in 5 minutes about communication skills and communicating effectively. Thank you. I would love to tune down a little bit from the technical and go back to Saana the person, if you allow me.
Absolutely.
You create lasting impressions constantly on stage, and you help speakers as well. You know, you speak yourself, you hire speakers, you train people.
Yeah.
But off the stage, Saana, the person that I was impressed with, to be honest with you, is Saana that went through a huge transformation in her life. And I work with a lot of people who are going through transitions in their life. And now in our days, people are going through transitions at a later stage in their life. So you see people at 40 or 50 changing careers, divorcing, moving countries. So going through tremendous transitions. And at the same time, people, they face huge threats. And there is a framework I use as well in my coaching practices.
Oh, teach me. All right.
That talks about, you will know why I'm taking you there. That talks about 3 main threats that people face when they're going through transitions. One is the self, which is the identity. Oh, I'm gonna, divorce, who I'm gonna be alone, right? Yes. The second threat, which is society and us in this part of the world, and we really do not take decisions because society stops us. What will people think about us? What will people say about us, right? And the third one is our inner circle, if you want, or our close circle, the family or the kids. So if I take this decision, if I quit my job, what will my kids think about me? Or, so things like that. So these 3 main threats, majority of people who are going through transitions, these are the stoppers for them.
Yeah.
When Saana went through a huge life transformation, for the audience sake, if you would like to mention in a very short time.
There's so many. You mentioned all of them essentially.
So many.
Do you want me to list them?
Not necessarily, but you went through a lot of transitions in a very short time, right?
Yeah.
You lost your job.
Yeah.
You went through divorce. Yeah. You started your company, your business. So this is huge.
Yeah.
And what were your threats at that time? What stopped you from taking these decisions, and how did you overcome these threats to take this particular 3 decisions? You can take one at a time if you want. We don't need to take all of them together.
Well, they're quite interconnected.
Yeah, exactly.
So here, my name means the truth. And truth is a value. It's a very high value of mine. And so being truthful and honest with myself of what I actually want and honoring that. So a big part of that is taking a hard look in the mirror. If we go with leaving the job, I was a banker and doing very well, very safe, well paid. And then saying, this is not for me. I don't really like it here. But they're paying you so much that you should like it. And society tells you should like it because you're high performing and you're doing well and can wear fancy suits and you're traveling and you're a top performer and everyone's recognizing you. So there's so much validation that you should be happy, you should be in the right place.
Yeah.
But then your inner voice is saying, something's off.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, whether that was the job or the divorce, so let's start with those. It wasn't a very loud leave. No. It was a really small sound. It was like a wind of something's a bit off.
Yeah.
And to take that sound and put it and look at it and have it on main stage of your life and amplify it, that took courage. So it wasn't the sound, because I heard it, and I think we all hear that, like you're not in the right place. But to give it the audience and the stage that it deserves, that took all my might.
Yeah.
And now when I saw it and it's becoming magnified, I went, oh, no. Let's do better. Let's demand better from life and from myself, because I want to live a rich life. When I am 19, I look back at the life that I've lived. I want to do that with a sense of alhamdulillah, a sense of pride, a sense of well done.
Satisfaction.
Absolutely. And so that also becomes another metric of mine. But it really was driven from a place of...
So it was the self, your identity, this was amazing. By the way, in the language of transition intelligence, we call these many changes life quake.
Oh, nice.
So we see people going through a life quake, a lot of changes happening at the same time. And it's amazing how you emerged from all of these changes, and how people can, have the sense of achievement and satisfaction after going through this hardship. I know this is a cliche, but after a life quake, there is always, what comes after. And this sometimes scares people.
Absolutely.
Not to have this vision or where I want to be heading.
Yeah. And to not give myself full credit only, I had attended a life coaching course. I was surrounded by life coaches at that point in time. So I had built already an unconscious infrastructure of a support system that was mirroring back this grievance of mine. So that made it much easier. And knowing that, now this was eight years ago, now I definitely have an A-team, that's what I call them, of advisors, coaches, therapists, mentors, gurus.
Amazing.
That constantly give me that feedback. Ultimately, the decision is mine, but I like hearing it from somebody else so I can be in a feedback loop.
Yeah.
How does this sound? No, yes, no, we try again. And then I go, okay.
And knowing that you're not alone.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Because, it's scary when you are in a lost place alone. Knowing that you're not alone, it really gives you this, scaffolding or, a little bit of support system to take the decision that you want to take.
But imagine every high performer that you know. We're very used to, we're going to do this on our own.
Yeah.
And then having the humility and to crush the ego, to go and ask for help.
Beautiful.
That took a lot.
Yeah, amazing.
And it was nice because in the Middle East, we have this beautiful tradition of coming together as a community.
Yeah.
And that, had I been in Sweden, I wouldn't have necessarily been the case. But organically, all these wonderful Arabs came and held me.
So reaching out, how important.
Well, they came on their own. And now I've developed and cultivated this art form of saying, hey, can you listen? Hey, can you help me? But that took years. And that wasn't something that came organically.
I know as well, if you allow me, that you do put a lot of attention to your spiritual life, whether, in Bali or in Makkah al-Mukarramah. So you do put a lot of efforts in your spiritual life. How did this help you stay grounded, or, what are the benefits from putting attention? Because I'm a great fan of, taking care of your spiritual life. I mean, this year I started practicing transcendental meditation.
Nice.
I went back to my spiritual life.
Beautiful.
And it had a huge impact on me. How did this benefit you?
So the journey to spirituality for me has been very different from how I was raised. I went to ashrams in India. I spent some time at Osho, and I went to these retreats and you name it. So I went everywhere else than where I was originally raised with, which is coming back to Islam and God. And so recently I went to my first Umrah, and from all of the experiences, and I've spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort in experimenting with everything that I can get my hands on when it comes to spirituality. But what it has done, it's made me aware of the sense of oneness, that you and I were connected, and that we're all connected, and that we have this collective consciousness, and that we're responsible for each other, because there is no separation. And so this sense of care for you, which is a care for me, coming together makes everything that I'm doing so important. Everything for me is a prayer. Everything for me is a touch point with God. Whether I am paying the bills or I'm meditating or praying, that for me is a touch point with God, and there's wisdom in all of it.
Or sending this message through this podcast. Amazing. Okay, let's lighten up the atmosphere now.
Sure, let's go.
Are you ready for the next segment?
All right, yeah.
The next segment, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
No time to think. I gave you enough time to elaborate and think. Now on the spot, I'm going to put you.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you questions. You don't need to think a lot. You just need to tell me what is the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. So let's start. Ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
If you are on a stage and you have to scream out loud one word, what would that word be?
Peace.
Oh, nice. What is your number one fear on stage?
To start laughing uncontrollably and not be able to stop. It's this intrusive thought I have every time. Don't, please.
I would love to see that. Okay, great. A stage that you dream to be on it.
Ooh, my dream stage would probably be Davos, World Economic Forum.
Beautiful. I hope.
Let's manifest.
Let's manifest. Your role model speaker.
I love Dr. Gabor Mate.
Ooh, nice.
Heart, soul, and he's so flat. He's actually quite monotonous, but he resonates through the screens everywhere. He speaks to my soul. He's tactical. He's practical. He's so beautiful.
It's the authenticity you spoke about.
Oof, beautifully authentic.
Right?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, one last one like that. What is your one favorite metaphor? That's a hard one.
My one favorite metaphor. I'll give you my one favorite expression.
Okay.
Let the wound be where the light enters you.
Wow.
Qualifies?
So much. I was waiting for another one of my favorite of yours.
Let's hear it.
The hardest no is the one closest to yes. Tell us more about this one.
It really is. It really is. Sometimes we have clear no's. Don't take the job. Don't date this person. Don't wear that dress. And sometimes we have clear yes. Be friends with this person. Go on that vacation. Take that job. And then you have that range in between. Yeah. And the ones that are close to a yes, that feel and sound like almost a good idea, they're the ones you should let go of. They're the ones that are testing your boundaries, testing your value system. This is where your truest character is formed. Because you're saying, I'm going to honor myself and honor my path, and say no to that and continue.
Amazing. So when I asked you to be a guest on this podcast, was it a clear yes?
It was an absolute yes. I'm here, no?
Thank you. Okay, now one picture, one word.
One picture, one word.
Are you ready?
Okay.
A book.
Life.
A mistake.
Learnings.
Technology.
Scary.
Train.
Experience.
Compass.
Qibla.
Love it. Celebration.
Joy. Book again.
I don't have a picture.
Yeah.
Natalie.
Love.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Does everyone say the same answers? I suspect so.
No, we don't show the same for all the guests.
Okay.
We do try to keep it, relevant as well and relatable to the guests. And these are things I took time to think about them because they are related to things related to you as well. I mean, knowing you a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know you that much. Now I know you better after this podcast. But it's carefully chosen as well. I know you like books as well. I know you talk a lot about technology.
Yeah.
And you participate in forums. So they are carefully chosen.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I hope you could relate as well to the pictures.
Yeah, thank you. It's almost like these ink blots by Ludwig Feuerbach, where your inner psyche is being revealed as these pictures are shown. I went, oh.
I'm indirectly coaching you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm joking.
Can you save me? Is there any hope?
You have already amazing community around you, and I'm really pleased that you are here today. One more segment for our podcast.
Okay.
Ready for the next step? So we have an Aladdin lamp here, and you are allowed to make 3 wishes. However, these wishes, they will grant you to create more and more positive, lasting impressions in this world. What would be your 3 wishes today?
Well, my first wish is an immediate ceasefire. If we can pray and hope that that manifests itself.
Amen.
My second wish is that everyone finds their truth and their voice and their higher self. Because when we speak up and we're in our authentic self, amazing, incredible things happen. And the third wish is may we all always be guided by love.
Beautiful, beautiful. I hope so. Amen to all of that. Saana, this brings us to almost the end of our podcast. It was a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for your authenticity and for your transparency as well. One tradition we have on this podcast is that the guest before you left you a message over here.
Oh.
Anonymously. They don't know. Yes, please. They don't know who they left it to. And feel free to read it. And you will have to leave a message for the next guest as well.
Brilliant. Okay. So they have nice handwriting.
Yeah.
And the quote is, "Our world needs less bosses and more leaders." Yes, yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Are you more of a leader or a boss?
I have grown into the role. When I started, I thought being a leader was being a boss. I didn't have more experience and knowledge. So I bossed around, and it came back to me as karma, I'll tell you that much. And it definitely forced me to be better and do better. It was painful, but also necessary. And I would, I'm not going to call myself a leader because that's for people to call you. So aspirational leader, I would say that instead.
Peter Drucker said a long time ago that the most important leadership style that is needed in our days is self-leadership. And if you allow me, I would call you a leader because your leadership starts from within and from the self. So keep leading the way forward and inspiring people and creating lasting impressions. Thank you so much, Saana, for being with me today. It was a beautiful discussion. If you liked this episode, share it, follow us, and follow Saana as well. She's on social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. And thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.